their reviews. And this is Yu Meng, also one of our judges. So later on, we will work with Mr. Yu to go around, and let's also talk about how they caved these pieces. So maybe let's go around. As we know, at this time, a total of 340 ice sculptures teams from 14 countries are participating in the contest. I believe the size is increasing. Yes, there are more countries participate, but I believe last year it's around 12 countries, and this year we believe increased to 14 countries. And we also have people from Egypt, from the hottest place to the coldest place. I will later on to see their works as well. But I believe it doesn't matter they cave a good one or not, at least they challenge themselves in the extremely cold weather. It's totally different weather from where they're from. The equator is extremely hot. So I also have a team list on my hands, I believe from Russia, from China. We have 3 teams from China this time. Spain, Malaysia, Slovenia, India, New Zealand, Mexico. I believe there are a lot of countries. Also team from Egypt. I believe we covered all different weather places. So we believe have the top sculptors from around the world. And you can see they have a number. We have the number 3 from Russia. There is a team 1 from Russia. Let's say their works, their piece. I believe that's the 2 animals. Yes, we have actually a lot of animals. You will see a lot like the wolves, the elk, the bears. They want to see like the animals are vivid and very lively. They run in the snow. I believe they use different techniques, and I believe they also captured at the back as well. Yes, you can see the ice is very transparent, and this is also one of the features. So they use the technique. So you can see from the front, you can see the animals actually, the whole shape actually they shaped from the back of the earth. So believe this right now resemble one of the leg of the deer. Yes, this is one of the key techniques, because you need to consider the weather, the temperature, and this is the much managed techniques. So I believe they will cave the leg first, and then they will stick the leg to the whole piece. So you can see the front leg. I think it's also depend on the ice shape. So the vertical actually is more supportable, so it have a better strength. So I also have the different angle and the shape. That is why for the back leg, they decide to stick the back leg to the piece, not the front one. So I believe they right now do the final work on the leg, and they will smooth it. So they will need to make it as perfect as possible and make it as light as possible. So this is the last day, the final day of the competition. I believe you can see more or less the appearance of the works. So this is 3-day event. Actually, at the first day, all the participants, they work on the raw material, that's the ice blocks. It's a 2 meter times 2 meters. So from just an ice block with no shape, and right now you can see only with their 3-day work, you have different pieces, different artworks appeared in front of us. It's snowing now. I believe you cannot really say it's as transparent as it is. I think they will do the final clean up work. So their works will be really, really transparent and clear. So let's maybe first pay a visit to our Chinese teams. This time we have 3 teams from China. And I visited to them before. I believe their work is really with Chinese characteristics. And this is our Chinese team member. Hello, we are from CCTV and CGTN. Which team you are? Team 1 from China. I think you almost finished your work, right? Yes. So what are you doing now? I think we're doing the fellow cleanup because there are a lot of snow packed up. We don't want the snow to really freeze into our piece, our work. So I use these small tools to clean the piece. So can you introduce your work? It's in the silence of night. So like my inspiration is like in the old days in ancient time. It's a little girl, it's a homesick, really think about his parents, his husband, his family. It looks like the work is really complicated, right? I believe it's, of course, need a lot of techniques. So in the middle, I believe it's a moon shape. Yes, that's a moon. So that's is also Uncle, the title of it, In the Silence of Night. And also have these buildings. This is ancient Chinese building. I believe that's the mark of her hometown. And also have a phoenix. Why you have a phoenix here? So that's also a symbol of Chinese ancient stories. And also a flower. What kind of flower is this? It's a peony. I believe that's also quite hard to shape, right? Yes. Because you know that's a very thin ice that require very thin ice to make it very vivid. So what kind of tools you need? First is you need electric saw. So first you to cut from the ice block, and then you need a very small like chisels to really shape it one by one. So the flowers, how long did it take you? Just less than 3 hours. That's very fast. So you use 3 hours, more than 3 hours, to cut and shape the flower. What is the most challenging part? I believe the character. Because it's a character in the ancient time, and you know you really need to find the right shape. So there is phoenix, there's a girl's face. I believe the face not finished yet, or that's your design. I think we only want to leave half of the face. That's our design. So that's a really complicated piece. So in each team, there are only 2 people to finish whole works. So we will have the final result this afternoon. Do you have the confidence to win? Yes. So we also have another judge. So you have Mr. Yohane. We're from CCTV and CGTN. Would you like to have a short interview with us? And he is our judge. It's also very world famous judge, and I believe is above 80 years old, and also the chairman of the International Ice Sculpture Association. I believe being here as a judge for many years, right? And how does he think about this time, the works? So the competition is organized in very good order, and this is the International Ice and Snow Sculpture event. The judge is saying like the competition has constantly increased in size over the years, and with more talented artists involved and more impressive techniques, tools, and pieces on show, he likes it very much. And let's go to other teams and the Chinese team. We just visited the Chinese team 1. Let's go to see others. And for the sculptors, actually, they are very, very busy. The schedule is really tight. So we have 2 people per one team, and they work on the raw material, which is 2 meters times 2 meters ice blocks. So they work really all days and nights, because all of them feel time is really limited. And they really cherish every second. So I believe this is also another Chinese team. I think they work in the different parts. And these tools actually not really have a name. I believe that they developed it. You can call it the electric molding system or electric saw. Actually, it's a very good tools. And for the curves, you use a chisel or knives actually cannot really give you a very nice, sexy shape. That is why they use this one to have a better shape. So you can see the curve. That can have a very nice curves. So you want to know how actually we build the ice sculpture. Here you are. We have one ice block. So people at first really need to draw their draft. They have a whole big design first. They know exactly what kind of the shape, what kind of the detail they want to have. So they have draw a very big sketch on the ice block. So they use what kind of tools? So they will actually print it out and stick to the ice. So they have a better design on the paper, and they print that out and stick to the ice. So basically have their pattern first and print that out and stick to the ice first. That's the first step.
And also alcohol should be used to work as a colorant. And after this profiling, we need to use big electrical tools to start engraving. And I began from the big picture and go to the details by steps. So that's the tool, right? Is it? Yes, you're right. So hello, we are live broadcasting this contest. Can you please show us your tool? Yes. So this is the electrical saw. Is it? Yes, you're right. We use it to cut big ice cubes, and it's really powerful. You do not actually have to turn on it. We just like to have a look. So use it to cut the ice cube, and you can also see that this gentleman is using a tool. We call it a spade. As you can see, it's very interesting that could you please attach it once again? Because as you can see, one of my colleagues is attaching this label, but you never use adhesive. Only water is good enough to attach this label to the ice cube. So on site, water is the only thing you need for an adhesive purpose. And in that case, you can imagine how cold, how freezingly cold it is. It's as cold as one drop of water will freeze into a block of ice instantly. It's not an exaggeration, it's the fact. So let's turn our eyes to this gentleman. So what are you doing? What's the shape of this ice? It's a flower vase. Yeah. And this will be attached to my work. What tool are you using? It's the smaller size of the ice sculpture shovel. As you can see here, we try to make it as original as possible, and it's not so refined, but we need to have this rough feeling. So we need to detach it first. As you can see from the surface of this vase, the stripes and the lines are rough, raw, and the shovel can do the job, and the lines are almost as wide as the shovel. So one stroke by one stroke, you can create this rough surface. So when you are beginning to finish, would you continue with the refinement? Yes, I will. Yes, like I will soften the lines. And what would you use to soften the lines? Use a smaller size of the shovels, which means that you will continuously refine it until these raw and rough lines are gone. Yes, you're right. So as I can see it, it's a very simple shape, but it's still complicated. How long it will take you to finish this? Around 1 hour. So this is less than 1/10 or even 1/100th of my whole piece of work. As I think they will have to engrave it and hollow it out and dig it up and try to engrave it, which is even more difficult than the simple sculpturing. Because for the ice sculptures, the most difficult element is the raw material. Yes, you're right. And the ice is very fragile. It's as a snow, it's easy. It's fragile. It's easy to be broken. So how can you ensure that your work will look clear, transparent, and beautiful? The first thing is that your eyes need to be as thin as possible. And also you need to create a profile or shape that's as vivid as possible. Can I have another look of this shovel? Yes. So this is a bigger size. You're right. As you can see from the surface, up front, it's not a flat one. It's a little bit. You can observe a curve, and this is a smaller size, the same curved surface. Could you show us how to use this one? Yes. Once it touches the ice, it coincides very perfectly with the shape we hope to create. And as you can see that the surface of the ice is exactly the shape of this shovel. So this for this whole set of shovel, how many pieces do you have? We have so many. Let me show you. So this is your tool box. Yes. Could you please display and demonstrate to us all of them? Yes. So what is this? It's actually we use it as a clamp. We try to get the ice cube and move it, because it will be very slippery for people to use our hands to move it. And what's this one? It's actually, as you can see, that this whole plate is equipped with the nails. We call it, it's a rubbing plate. It's used to rub the surface of the ice cube to be the shape of the creator's intention. And as you have observed, for the two different separate pieces of the smaller cubes, if you need to attach it, the first step is we need to rub it first for the surface to be perfectly fitting. So could you please show how to use this tool? Yes. Okay, let's move to this place. It's easier to have a clear idea. So we hope this contestant can take some time to show us how to attach the. For example, we hope to attach this smaller piece of ice to the bigger whole piece of the work. Then the first step is we need to rub the surface of the smaller piece. So it's a pleasant sound, is it? Yes. So if you are with us on this live program, you feel free to ask questions if you have any. So the other piece of the ice is also being rubbed, which means that for the two surfaces which need to be attached together, they need to be rubbed as the first step. And the contestant, he needs to compare frequently to see whether or not they fit perfectly. Despite the rules are quite rough, and then let me ask you, what are you using water for? It's only the tap water. I need to attach it, so water is used. So attention please, friends. No adhesive is used, only water. Water is poured onto the ice, and the water are permeated into the seams between the two pieces of ice, and we try to seal the seams with the flakes. So that's the finished work. We need to let it stay for a few minutes. What a miracle! Water can help these two pieces of ice to attach together. And later on, your vase, the vase you have just created, will also be attached using the same way. Yes. It's so miraculous. Yeah, it's all what's the nature, the Almighty nature has blessed us with. So once again, the outdoor temperature is -10 degrees here, and the water can be employed as adhesive with all the desired effect. So I have to say that minus 10 degrees Celsius is not actually the typically cold temperature here. And in this competition, in this contest, what adhesion requirements do you have? In principle, we don't have requirements how you attach your different pieces of the component part, but we would evaluate based on how firmly it's attached together, because we don't want any accidents or fatal incident happen to the tourists. And the other requirements or the criteria is when attaching those different pieces together, you need to make sure the contestants themselves are safe enough. So once again, I'd like to stress that for each of the team, they are given a designated piece of ice cube. You have a rectangular ice cube that's 2 meter wide, 2 meter high, and 80 centimeter thick. And you can only attach what you have removed from your original ice cube. You cannot get the pieces from other or get the scraps from other teams. So let me ask this gentleman. I believe you have been for quite some time. What's the name of this work? We call it Silk Road Music, or the melody on the Silk Road. So it's reminiscent of the Chinese ancient or the traditional culture and its civilization. Yes, could you please explain a little bit what's your design? Yes. This shape resembles the flying to the sky picture that have been featured quite frequently on the ancient Chinese culture, and you can also find it on a lot of murals or the wall sculpture works. And what's this ribbon used for? Because it's a fairy tale, we hope to create an image that can bring people closer to a fairy tale character, the god or goddess. And you can also say we try to create some images of the clouds. In ancient times, the Silk Road has helped drive the global economic growth. That's the same case in the modern world. And we hope the Belt and Road Initiative can be the one that brings countries around the world together. Yeah, and also I'd like to take this opportunity to further promote the Chinese culture. And as I can see it, you still need some time to refine it. Yeah, you're right. And besides these ribbons, we also need to create more vivid vivid expressions on the face. Porcelain is a necessity because, as you know, the china or the porcelain vase are the major items Chinese merchants have brought to foreign countries in the ancient Silk Road time. So we hope that can also be featured in this work. And necklace, bracelet, and the belt, with the belt, are also designed for this work. So it means that you will have numerous work to do. Yes, you're right. So time is very precious and valuable. And the competition will be finished by the noon. We finished by 9 p.m. yesterday. So let me tell you, you may think 9 p.m. is not late enough, but here in Harbin, it's already getting dark at 4 p.m. every afternoon. And
I believe you, the earliest one here, yes. Because it's the final day, we want to start to work as early as possible. Actually, we already saw some tools. Just now, I believe you have other tools, right? Can you show me how you use your tools? So this is aluminum plate, or so the shape actually just cuts. Actually, just get a bigger plate and we just cut by ourselves because we know how we work and what kind of shape we like. And this one actually a lot of the car factories use it, and before actually we use the clothes irons to make it because we want to warm the plate. And actually the iron didn't work today, so that is why we use another one to help us to warm it up. So it's like the higher dryers. So we want to really make it in a higher temperature. So you see, we heat it. You can see the ice now turn to water. The ice melt into water. So we heat the plate and it helps us to stick the smaller pieces together. So Mr. Yu, would you please help us for the demonstration? Let's find two smaller size pieces and let's see how these two stick together. This is another way of sticking different pieces together. This is normally used for smaller pieces. And we always use water as glue. So it's time to see the magic. Okay, the aluminum plate is warm and these two stick together. They melt into water, and I believe it's another technique to stick two smaller pieces together by using this heated aluminum plate. So I give you a better view so you can see it clearly. And right now we are heating the plate. That plate helps us to stick two smaller pieces of ice together. Normally we use clothes irons, but today the iron didn't work, so we use another one. It's like a high dryers. The purpose is we use it to heat up the plate. I visited a competition every year, and actually you can find something very creative tools every year. And you can see these two stick together. You can see it just in a very short time, or 2 or 3 seconds. These two stick together. So this aluminum plate, so it's a very good in transmit the heat. So you put these two into the two ice. So it helps to melt the two ice together, and you move it out. These two ice will stick together. So we use different ways to adhering to different blocks of ice. So if you see the two pieces of ice that's in the very big shape, we use water. And if we want to stick the two smaller pieces together, we use the plate. So like the arms to the bodies, or for the decoration pieces. That's a very smaller ones. So like make you as like after you stick together, it looks like it's just caved from the same ice. They basically adhered into one piece. You cannot really find the crack in between. Like the teeth of the dinosaurs, if you want to stick teeth into the mouth of dinosaurs, we use the plate. Thank you very much. We will not take further your time. I know it's very tight schedule. I leave you to work. So let's see what they are doing. I think it's a cooler actually. The cool finds actually right now it's snowing. They don't want the snow actually accumulated to their works. Otherwise the snow may freeze into their works. So this is faster than just by hand. This is the cooler. And also how to clean up their work. So the electric saw, I believe the swing saw. So you can see you want to cut the big shape of the ice block. It helps you to cut. You see the in a very fast speed. So you can cut a cube from the bigger block. You know that you only like each team only can use the raw material from the organizations, so they only can use it. So for the last day, you know, they didn't really got a lot left, so they need to really calculate in details how they want to use the left material in a smarter way. So you can see they're cutting in different shapes and a very good technique. So really want to know what kind of shape he may cut into. We can tell these contestants really mastered the technique. Actually, he also the veteran participant. I can tell he can represent the artist from China. You know, in his age, he's really young. And I can tell right now the teams from China, they're all in a very young age. But they have a very rich experience in the very good technique. Every year, the International Ice Sculpture competition actually is in different categories. Here we can tell it's a single ice block competition, which means like the competition organization give you only one big complete cube that's measuring 2 meters by 2 meters by 80 centimeters. You only can use this one. And another is we caught the competition is like the organizations provide to each team 10 pieces, but in a smaller size. So you just freely use these 10 blocks and make them in different combinations. So you can combine these 10s in different shapes, in cubes, in triangles, in different shape you desire. I believe that competition already finished, so we can see already their finished pieces. If time allows, I will also like to show you their works. I believe their size will be larger. Actually, that competition, the work actually is larger than this competition, and also they got longer time to work on the pieces. So here I believe it used the electric picks, and this is also can tell the electric molding tools. So it's how to shape You can see right now we use a lot of electric tools because they all can help to speed up the shaping process. A lot of them actually is created or developed by contestants. So with these many years, I believe for Harbin competition to help the Chinese participants have better communication exchange with the competitors from other countries, and they work together, develop actually a lot of tools. So these tools help them to make the ice in different shapes. I believe the continents, you can see they're also the master of innovation. And they also use a lot of like clothes irons. That's something we frequently use in our lives, but they bring that into their ice sculpturing. Very creative. And here you can see they use the chisels. The chisels help them to break the ice. And they also sometimes use ice picks. So different tools actually help them to shape in different kind of curves. So here actually to make it flat, and also we just saw some tools that help them to have different curves. So this is really fast and very sharp actually. So you can see the knife really can help them to have the really refined or detailed works to make the work in a very good exquisitely details. So let's take a guess. I think doing a ribbon, or what are you working? Yes, a ribbon, but that's not put on the hat, that's put on the waist. Only, I believe, taken in a very short time, we can have a bow knot. So that's a very beautiful bow that we'll put in the waist of the character. So you can see in a very, very short time period, we use different tools. Right now you can see the shape of the knot. This another electric molding tool. That's the really small one. So you can see it's basically how to have a different shapes that also help to really carve the details. That's a pattern on the bowl. So right now we are working on the details on the bowl. It's really, really attractive. I really want to know the final effect. So really want to see the bowl stick to the waist. You know, it's really, really a miracle that just from a block that nothing really, you can tell just a very single piece of block. And right now, just in 1 or 2 minutes, here you are, a ribbon bowl. So while he's working, let's see, for each artist, you can see this all the ads on them. They work really, really on the high concentration. But you can see on their bodies, you can see this is all ice or snows on their body, and they work days and nights outside.
And for this ice sculpture, it's really a hard-working job. Yes, but for those contestants, I believe they feel so happy working with the ice. So the back is being refined right now. Yes, you're right. So I feel like he tried to carve it into more more flexible and more vivid in shape. Yes, you're right. So that's why we say that for each of these sculpture works, each and every one of them are very graphic, and that's the reason we need to make sure that the eyes are as thin as possible, because only in that way it can have a good deflection of the light. So a good piece of sculpture work, the shape or the profile is important, but equally important is the thickness of the eyes, and that's also one of the key criteria in deciding which one is a good work by the judges. And he tried to create a surface that will be easy to be attached to the main body. So a brush is being used to get rid of the snowflakes. And why do we need to do it immediately? Because other case, the snowflake will be frozen onto the surface of this ice cube. Yes, so it's finished. Yes, you're right. So as we can see, this is the shape of a belt, waist belt, and in the center it's a ribbon. So it's unimaginable. So let's further take a look at how the gentleman will attach it to the main body. So he's trying to get a mixture of ice and water. Why need such a mixture? And because we need to ensure that the density of this false adhesive should be dense enough, because only water will just float away very easily, and with some ice and the snow, it can work like some very thick adhesive or glue. I believe it's very challenging. Yes, you're right. It requires a long experience of the craftsman, and that's also the reason why we are not simply pouring water into the connecting surface. And also, if you just simply pour water onto the surface of the ice will just crack up. Yes. So for every decision, it should be made based on the experience as well as the actual situation on the ground. Yes, you're right. And the ribbon we have just mentioned, it's attached very perfectly at the right place. And I'm so glad that we are witness to this miraculous process. We just said that we hope to visit the Egyptian delegation. Okay, let's move on to that team. For the Egyptian team, so we have a volunteer here. Could you please brief us on the volunteering work you are doing? Yes, we have 10 volunteers for this contest because we have contestant teams from foreign countries. So for each contestant team, we have assigned one interpreter to them. Yes, what do you do normally? Yeah, we help them to navigate their daily life as well as to facilitate their work creation. So this team is from Egypt. Yes. Do you know about these two contestants? Yes. Could you please give us some brief introduction? Yes. So it's one gentleman and one lady. Yeah. Can we make a small talk with them? Yes, you can have a try. So hello. I'd like to ask, how many times have you been for this contest? So in Egypt, it's quite hot. How do you feel like it here in Harbin? It's my first time here.
I think it's a really good adventure for me.
Okay, thank you. 他说他们国家的温度大概有零上40度。
And the gentleman said that in her country, the temperature is 40 to 50 degrees above zero. So it's a freezingly cold here, and she feels like she's in the freezer. And she is also amazed by the snow and the ice presence here. So where have you ever
On stone. I participate in a symposium on granite and limestone, alabaster. So for me, I found it's a very good challenge to come here to try a new material and new techniques to see how all the other sculptors work. There's a different tools, different technique, so I learned a lot.
他以前在埃及是学石雕的，然后他
She used to work as a stone sculptor, and she learned about this contestant from a friend, and she deemed it as a challenge to transform their raw material from stone to the ice, and work as an ice sculpture. And the tools has also changed.
I'm working on the idea about power in the figure and power out. So I make a sculpture full of vitality, full of organic style.
他这次的作品叫做抽象。
So for this work, it's named as abstract. I hope to convey a message of vitality and energy inside the body. So let's have an appreciation of this work. So it's very abstractive in shape. So I'd like Mr. Yu, one of the judges, to make some comments. So it's relatively simple in shape, is it? Yes, but I believe for them, for the contestants, it's by no ways easy or simple in shape, because in Egypt, ice and snow are rare to them, and what they usually work with are the stones. And as the gentleman have said, this is their first time to work on the ice, and the techniques and the skills may be different working on a stone from working on an ice. So I believe that this is an inspiring experience for them, and I believe that's also one of the charm or one of the values of this contest, which will bring together people from different culture, from different country, what they think they can create out of an ice cube. Yes, I believe despite their work are still at the entry level, but we are seeing more countries sending delegation this year than last year. And while touring around in the last several minutes, could you please make a summary, because I know that you will have your final judgment, and this night you will release the final results. And in assessing these works, how would you, from which perspective or from what criteria would you evaluate? First, we will evaluate its creativity and how the contestants try to touch or move the audiences, in which way or in which form. And the second, the techniques, how the contestants can maneuver the ice cube, the different tools, as well as the situation on the ground. And the third, the temperature, the quality of the ice, the logistics on site, the time frame. These factors will also be considered in evaluating a contestant's work. So number 23 work is from Mongolia. So it calls a dance of fish and bird. It's really worthwhile to observe that the two birds are standing on the ball. This is an engraved ball. This is actually, I have to say, one of the most difficult technique needed in the ice sculpturing. Yes, you're right. As we are getting a close-up look on the whole surface of this globe or ball is totally engraved, and which is quite precious in considering that in extremely low temperatures, ice and snow are very easy to break. And we are also seeing a curve which is adding more difficulty in creating. And for this work, I believe they have a cut of a lot of ice. Yes, let me turn our eyes to this one. From which country they're from? So what's the number? So it's number 25. So let's take a look at our number 25 work. So we are in the back. Okay, let's move on to the service. While we are touring, if you have special likes for any particular work, you can also free to speak up your mind, and we can convey your idea to the contest committee. So for this work, they have a cut of a lot of extra ice. Yes. And despite they have a cut of a huge amount of ice, but they have a big span. Yes, you're right. Let me ask this question. Which is your favorite work? Which is your favorite one? That one. On the last row? The one with the red contestant with the red clothes. So let's go on to check that. Let's have a look how our audiences are appreciating different works. So as I can see, it's an astronaut. Yes, we actually call it gravity. So for this sculpture, it's all the essence of an ice sculpture. The transparency and the clearness are all here for you to see. So I'd like to see your comments. First, for the three criteria, the creativity. It's named after gravity. It means human beings long for a trip to the space, to the outer space. But on the other hand, we need to ground ourselves on the Earth. So this creativity have made the best use of the 2-meter high ice cube. And it can actually, I have to say that it's much higher than the 2-meter height of the cube, because the contestants have make it higher by by sticking some ice from the cut-off ones. So from which team it is? It's number 28 from Mongolia. Do we have the volunteer here? Yes. Can we do a brief interview? Yes.
So let's have an interview if possible. Really want to know how they carve the mask and the face. For this one, I believe it's really vivid, and I think it's really transparent, have the high degree of clarity. It's like cutting the diamond. I believe they really good utilize the reflection of light. It's also related to the way how they cut the ice block. I think here you are, the closed iron. I believe they are also heated the aluminum plate, and I believe right now is heat up the plate, and we'll do later on for sticking up the different pieces together, like small stars, and the different proportion. I believe that will all stick up. The spacecraft, I think that's all stick to the whole piece. So the astronaut is really flying up high, but a lot of hollows actually you can see. The only part that stick to the piece is the Earth. That Earth actually support the whole astronaut, the whole character, and you can see for the other parts there are a lot of hollow space. This is really, really hard and high-tech piece. I believe that later on, I believe they will have the more and more smaller or the less conjunction parts. So this is really show their high technique. So we really want to know, because we can see the face very clearly even with mask on. How do you make it? The team is from Mongolia. So we have the face first. The mask, you can see actually that's a separate eyes, make it as thin as possible and in a very good shape, and we stick to the face. This is really cutting edge technique, I believe. So for the eye sculpture, you cannot really just amazed by their big shape. You also can find their details are really, really impressive. So for this afternoon, we will have the prize winner. I believe we have 3 for the third place, and 2 for second place, and 1 for the first place. And also have some special awards, like the best technique, the best creation ideas. So right now, you can see the contestants are really working, finalize their works. It's almost 10 o'clock. They only got 2 hours left. We're really looking forward to seeing the final winners. We didn't see the sun yet. We really can tell the final effect of all their works. And this one, I believe this is also a special one, right? Their technique is also a complicated one. So like say the technique is like they carve everything from the back of the eyes, but they finally present the effect from the front. That's a very special technique. So they did everything at the back, but they have the final result from the front. You can tell the effect from the front. And this is also the team from Russia. I believe that we have a people, we have a horse, everything carved from the back. Let's see their secret from the back. You can tell the characters from the front, but they didn't carve them from the front. They curved everything here at the back. So you can see the shape. So basically, they carve everything reversely. That's a very special technique, and we show you all different kinds of tools. And here we just show you around the 32nd International Ice Sculpture Competition. We will have the final result this afternoon. And thank you very much for watching. This is the end of our show.